Grazie.
Io mi metto gli occhiali. Benvenuti tutti al Digital Economy Forum. Sono lieto di vedervi qui oggi e vorrei cogliere l'occasione per ringraziare i numerosi e generosi sponsor americani, italiani ed europei. Tu puoi vederli qui ogni tanto, ma senza loro, senza benzina nella macchina non si va avanti, vero? Con il loro contributo hanno reso possibile la realizzazione di questo importante evento. Il loro sostegno e la loro collaborazione dimostrano l'importanza che essi conferiscono all'economia digitale per la crescita delle loro aziende e per l'Italia stessa. Adesso scambio in inglese perché, sai, il web è una cosa che è venuta dall'America, ma prima di tutto I want to thank and especially and acknowledge Sandy Polu and her team for putting this incredible event together. It's not easy. It's not easy to innovate in Italy, and without Sandy's efforts and the efforts of the team of our embassy to initiate this kind of thing, it would never have happened, and I just really want to make sure you're acknowledged for that. Over the past several months, many people have wondered why the U.S. Embassy would organize a two-day forum to help Italian business discuss how the digital world can help them grow. And the answer is simple, and there's no hidden agenda. Here's where I want to just introduce, I don't know where Alec Ross is, because he was with me and then he wasn't. Where are you? Eccolo. Alec is Hillary Clinton's, the Secretary Clinton's, magic man who is really trying to introduce the internet into the State Department world. And we all know the incredible success that actually the State Department has brought in initiating some of these efforts into diplomacy. But I remember talking to Alex when I first started this, or came here, and I was all excited about trying to get the digital economy, the digital world, the digital agenda going, as part of my mandate here in Italy. And after about 6 months, I said, Alec, it's hard. I said, it's really, between the State Department and between Italy, this is going really slowly. I began to whine, and I said, what do you do? And he said, well, David, you're entrepreneurial, so just go do something entrepreneurial. So that's what we've tried to do here today. And I hope that this will really help to start a dialogue around this subject that's sponsored by the embassy. I believe that the digital economy is important to America's future and to Italy's future alike, for economic growth, for job creation, and for the continued ability to compete globally. Italy is a strong friend and an economic partner to the U.S., and we wanted to bring together experts and entrepreneurs from America and Europe to exchange ideas about how businesses can take advantage of digital economies to grow and to innovate. Digital technologies enable companies to be faster and better, and creating a more robust digital ecosystem in Italy is good for Italian business, and it's good for our business. The digital economy is well suited to its small and medium enterprises that form the backbone of Italy's economy. The Internet enables them to extend their market reach and increase revenue streams, while cloud computing can help companies reduce costs and enhance their technical ability. In the past 2 years, the use of online social networks in Italy has exploded, showing that Italians clearly have a desire to be online. But in terms of investment in the digital economy, I believe Italy has yet to fully embrace the potential of this new economic ecosystem. This affects every industry. As IT investment has become critical to competitiveness throughout the economy, Italy has great digital potential. But that potential needs to be encouraged in order to increase growth for existing companies and provide fertile ground for digital startups to take root. Just as importantly, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who was in Rome last week, and the U.S. State Department are working to promote greater Internet access and open information flow on the Internet worldwide. Information and collaboration are key drivers of innovation, and the Internet enables both of these. At the same time, we recognize the need to address privacy concerns and to protect intellectual property. Personally, I'm very interested in this sector and have been involved in Internet ventures that have fundamentally changed the way news is reported and how political campaigns are executed. You know, it's interesting because I remember I've been involved through my family with a venture capital company called Greylock, and I remember in 1995 going to a presentation of a thing called the Internet. It was in 1995. No one even knew what this was, and the vision that they were presenting for the next 10 years sounded like La La Land to me. Well, the interesting thing is that now, 15 years later, it has so far surpassed the vision that it was in 1995, and I'll talk about this a little later, that you can only imagine what the next 15 years are going to bring. And my own personal initiation, if you will, into the power of the Internet came in a political campaign. My brother-in-law is John Kerry, Senator Kerry, who ran for president in 2004. And I remember that during the campaign, we got very pressed by the campaign of Howard Dean, who used the Internet suddenly to raise tons of money. And the Kerry campaign, which was old style, Washington, you know, raise money the hard way, suddenly started falling behind. Suddenly there was this new phenomenon in the air. And eventually Howard Dean's campaign sputtered out. But I picked up the mantle at that time because no one else knew what to do, and I said, I'll try to go figure this out. And I remember trying to explain to people how the Internet was going to be able to be used as a campaign. This is just in 2004. Now, this is before Facebook. This is before YouTube. And I remember that the night that Senator Kerry won the Iowa primary, trying to explain that what you need to do is you need to provide people a website name to go to, like johnkerry.com. No one even had that concept. So then I found myself going around to Kinko's, print up a sign that said johnkerry.com and putting it on the podium, so that when all the television cameras showed, him giving a speech, they actually would pick up the digital name. And the interesting thing was that from nothing, although we tried to be prepared for it, we got a spike of 5 million people in the first 5 minutes of him going on camera. And that was my first lesson of the power of this new thing. And since that time, he raised over $200 million during his campaign through the Internet devices, and then of course we essentially handed the whole thing over to President Obama, who of course used it centrally in his campaign and raised $500 million or more through this phenomenon. But that was my introduction to the power of this new thing. And interestingly enough, I had a conversation right after the campaign with a guy called Reid Hoffman, who started a little company called LinkedIn. And Reid was LinkedIn was a Greylock company. And I remember turning him, and this was right after the campaign. I said, Reid, you know, you think you could use LinkedIn to help a political campaign? And I know it seems sort of strange. It hasn't been used in the political campaign, but I know that, you know, no one could have possibly predicted the growth that LinkedIn has produced. And it was just a little anecdote. Anyway, this forum is the U.S. Embassy's way of engaging Americans, Italians, and other Europeans in a dialogue about how all of us can remain strong economies. It is the beginning of what I hope will be a continuing conversation between us and all of you here and private industry. And now I'd like to focus a little on the opportunities and challenges that the digital world provides. I remember the days, unlike some of you, of rotary telephones. And I can recall the advent of the personal computer and working on my Apple IIc, if you remember those with floppy disks. And now we breathe the internet, and soon we'll be living and working in the clouds. Some claim that the rate of change we have witnessed in the past century will be dwarfed by the velocity of change to come. In his new book, Why the West Rules for Now, noted scholar Ian Morris argues that in the next century, we will realize 4 times the amount of change that humankind witnessed in its first 150,000 years. I'm not sure I can keep up with the pace of change now. I know it doesn't feel like I can keep up with it at that kind, but that's what's going to happen, I think. In the past decade, our vocabularies have expanded to include smart systems, wiki, crowdsourcing, augmented reality, net neutrality, digital lockers, and new words like tweeting, poking, Skyping, Googling, blogging, and now microblogging. There's no doubt that we in the United States and Europe have benefited from these advances in information and communications technologies. Study after study continues to show the correlation between greater internet access and networking readiness and growth in GDP and jobs. According to a World Bank report, a 10% increase in broadband access in developed countries corresponds to a 1.2% increase in GDP per capita. In Europe, faster broadband deployment has the potential to generate 1 million jobs and 850 billion euros in growth by 2015. According to Gartner, cloud computing alone, including SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, and the first one to tell me what all that means, wins the prize, will be worth about $150 billion by 2014. Countries outside the industrial world are also realizing these benefits. Emerging countries, often unburdened by old infrastructures and regulatory frameworks, have leapfrogged fixed internet connections and are going directly to mobile internet connections and usage. In Africa, there are already an estimated 84 million mobile phones with some internet connectivity. And of course, we all know what's happened or happening in North Africa. Emerging countries are hungry for opportunity and hungry for growth. As these countries realize the economic benefits from the digital economy, we can expect that their rate of growth will only continue to increase. This year, the GDP in China is expected to grow by almost 10%, in India by 8%, in Brazil by more than 4%, in the United States by just over 3%, and in Italy by 1%. America's and Italy's economies are still strong enough to remain competitive in the midst of this emerging economic growth. But for how long? Will their economies one day overtake ours? How do we continue to grow when we can no longer compete on price and labor productivity? The answer is innovation. A robust digital economy is fundamental to that innovation. Digital technologies have already transformed our business processes and delivery of services. They allow large groups of people who have never met to communicate and collaborate on diverse projects such as car design and organizing relief aid during natural disasters. The digital world has allowed doctors to provide health care remotely, farmers to track the whereabouts of their cows, people to share cars, and cities to monitor the performance of electricity grids, sewage systems, and bridges. Gaming now is even being used to harness a collective creativity in finding solutions to real problems, including developing new drugs for hard-to-treat diseases. And on a sort of a whimsical note, the other night I saw this really beautiful thing that was being done on the internet, and that was, I've forgotten his name, who harnessed 2,500 voices from around the world to create a chorus of singers. And then by electronic means, everybody would sing into their Skype or whatever it was, and they would, and he put this together in the most moving sound of 2,500 people, and that is an extent, I mean, just if you say an artistic or creative example, whimsical example of the way this technology could be used to bind us together to make a beautiful song. In a few minutes, you'll hear more about some of the technologies that are transforming the ways in which we interact with each other and our surroundings. These advances in communications and data technologies also bring complex challenges. Today, our governments and societies are grappling with how to approach governance on the online world and the issues it raises, such as regulation of cross-border communication and commerce, data protection, intellectual property rights, freedom of speech, net neutrality, cybersecurity, and privacy. We will need to be creative, flexible, and cognizant of the impact of any regulation on our future capacity to innovate, communicate, and sustain economic growth. Along these lines, the Obama administration has proposed collaborating with other OECD members to create interoperable regulatory schemes. In June, there will be a high-level meeting on the Internet economy, generating innovation and growth, which will focus on building trust while safeguarding the openness and decentralization of the Internet that facilitate innovation and collective participation. Innovation and growth. Over the next day and a half, we will be discussing how our companies can achieve those two things. You will hear a variety of ideas and perspectives from digital experts and entrepreneurs. I encourage you all to engage with these fantastic speakers and to network with each other. As a little philosopher from this country called Machiavelli once wrote, "There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, more uncertain in its success than to initiate a new order of things." Whether that new order of things develops in Italy will depend in large part on you and your peers. Buon lavoro a tutti. And now I'd like to invite Paolo Baratta, President of the Biennale, up here to say a few words. Thank you very much.